Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the 10X Clean Cooling Student Competition pitch event. We will be going live in just 5 minutes. Thank you for your patience.
Can y'all hear us?
Can you hear us?
Yes, your sound is good.
Sorry, we were having a little bit of technical difficulties.
No worries. We're all set now. You can go ahead and mute.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the culmination of the clean cooling competition. My name is Duke Ryder. I'm the senior advisor to the president here at Arizona State University, the founder of the 10 Across project, and the former dean of the College of Design. And it's my pleasure to welcome all of you to this competition. This is going to be a busy day. Along the way, we have multiple cameras, microphones, computers across the country, all trying to function in sequence. Let's hope that that works, but you never know. We will do our best to move through everything as expeditiously as possible. But first of all, I want to thank our generous sponsor, the Clean Cooling Collaborative. Without them, this competition would not exist. The Clean Cooling Collaborative is a philanthropic initiative working to transform the cooling sector and make clean cooling accessible to all. We'd like to take a brief moment to share a quick video overview of the collaborative's mission and to provide context for our competition today.
What do you think of when you hear the word cooling? From keeping us safe and comfortable when it's hot outside, to preserving the medicines we rely on and the foods we eat, cooling is essential for our daily life. Throughout history, humankind has adapted to its surroundings, building communities that can weather extreme environments. But as we face the challenges of a changing climate, cooling has become more important than ever. In fact, by 2050, cooling demand is set to triple, putting a strain on electric grids and increasing greenhouse gas emissions. To meet this growing demand, we have to rethink how we cool. So how can we rise to the challenge? Buildings and urban landscapes, designed to protect people from extreme heat, can help keep us cool and reduce the demand for air conditioning. Where cooling appliances are still needed, choosing efficient ceiling fans, air conditioners, or heat pumps can reduce our energy use, greenhouse gas emissions, and utility bills. With billions of people around the world currently lacking access to affordable cooling options, moving to more efficient and climate-friendly cooling solutions isn't just about reducing emissions, but addressing inequality. No matter where you live, it's vital that you can stay safe, healthy and cool in our warming world. So let's work together to build a future with energy-efficient, climate-friendly cooling for all.
Okay, so as you just heard, the challenges of our warming world have made clean cooling more important than ever. That's why we joined forces with the Clean Cooling Collaborative to host this student competition with the goal of inspiring talented minds to develop creative solutions in partnerships with community organizations, the latter being extremely important. We want to make sure that the solutions coming forward are implementable, and especially for those who need them. We also want to thank Arizona State University for their continued support of the 10 Across initiative. I'd especially like to thank President Crow for the support he's given all of us in the course of not only this competition, but the project at large. So today we're going to hear from our 5 finalist teams. This is the culmination of well over a year's worth of work in organizing a competition. Tens of thousands of people have visited the competition website. And so what you're going to hear today are the 5 finalist teams making their final pitch. Our teams are competing for the grand prize of $100,000, along with their community partner receiving an additional $50,000 to prototype and implement their clean cooling solution in a heat disadvantaged community. In addition, all finalist teams will receive $10,000 to further support the development of their solution. We'll also be announcing our People's Choice Award at the end of the pitch competition, so stay tuned for that. Before we hear from our finalists, let's meet the panel of judges. First of all, Shannon Clancy is the CEO of the Society of St. Vincent de Paul of Phoenix and a great friend of 10 Across. The Society of St. Vincent de Paul is a nonprofit organization that harnesses the power of community and partnerships to help feed, clothe, house, and heal individuals and family. Shannon's been with us much of the way in this competition and has participated in our summits, so we thank her for that. Ann Colanesi is the Chief Resilience Officer of the City of Jacksonville, Florida. Again, a great friend of 10 Across. In her role, Ann is responsible for leading the development and implementation of resilience initiatives to ensure Jacksonville can adapt and thrive in the face of acute shocks and chronic stresses brought on by climate change, including extreme heat. And of course, Jacksonville is one of our 10 Across cities on the far eastern edge. Christopher Enclarino is the Technical Project Manager for Climate Resolve, a Los Angeles-based nonprofit focused on building collaborations to champion equitable climate solutions we've relied on Climate Resolve for some input as we put this competition together. Dave Handula is the Director of Heat Response and Mitigation for the city of Phoenix, fifth largest city in the United States, where he and his team are responsible for designing, coordinating, implementing, and evaluating programs that protect people from dangerous heat and provide long-term cooling and thermal comfort. And finally, my good friend Stephen Lewis is a renowned architect nationally, principal at ZGF Architects, and a thought leader and tireless advocate for social justice and diversity within the field of architecture. We're delighted to have Stephen and all of this distinguished panel of jurors with us today. So thank you all for your time. So today, we're going to hear, as I mentioned before, from the 5 extraordinary finalist teams. Each team will have 5 minutes to deliver their pitch, followed by a 10-minute Q&A session with our esteemed judges. Now, obviously, that's a brief amount of time, but the judges have seen and looked at the projects before to get to this point. So this is really a culmination, again, of a lot of work done in advance of what we're doing today. To help provide added support, each team has invited a watch party of supporters to help cheer them on. Let's quickly meet them. Here are the teams representing the following finalist colleges and universities. First up, the Los Angeles Trade and Technical College. And I'm assuming you can see them on your screen. There we go. Next, Texas A&M Technical and Trade College of Architecture and Environmental Design in Corpus Christi. All right, there they are. All right, next, the University of California in Los Angeles. All right. Next, Loyola University of New Orleans in Louisiana. Okay. There they are. All right. And then finally, Northern Arizona University. Okay. So let's move on with the competition. And I'm sure that the watch parties will fill up, especially as we get moving, and you'll see them towards the end. And so the first competition, first team, is from the Los Angeles Technical and Trade College Architecture and Environmental Design program, sharing their shade structures and systems solution. This project features their open access information platform and hands-on community training program that aims to provide solutions that mitigate the risk of extreme heat in at-risk communities. I'll now turn it over to the LATTC Shade Structures and Systems team.
Welcome to LATTC Architecture and Environmental Design Super Shade Structures and Systems. Hello, I'm Jack Greenberg, and I've spent several years working in the built environment. Unfortunately, next slide, please. Sorry. Next slide, please. Unfortunately, as the image on the left suggests, I lost a family member due to heat exhaustion. Today, we'll be presenting an innovative, creative, transformative, and community-driven design solution. Next slide, please.
Hello, my name is Jose Cruz, and I'm very passionate about how architecture and design change lives. I live in a concrete jungle with dried up gardens, and that makes green living seem like a distant dream. But our solution will solve it all. Our solution is comprised of 2 parts. One, we'll be developing an open source platform for shade structures of multiple shapes and sizes designed by the communities and local needs. And 2, building a prototype with the compliance of the building code via our community workshops. Next slide.
Hello, I'm Eduardo Cortez. I am a framing and drywall carpet subcontractor. When temperatures soar, people tend to leave their windows wide open. Unfortunately, that's when crime spikes, which leads to our clean cooling shade structures. I am honored to present our shade structures that are 1, passive design to help cool down concrete surfaces of up to 60%. 2, do not use carbon-dependent systems, making them net positive. And 3, produce natural ventilation. Some can collect rainwater and or produce energy. Next slide.
Hello, my name is Ralph. Currently, I'm an intern at a large architecture firm. The saddest thing I have experienced is when children cry because they're so hot. This project is so important because it empowers the community to become designers, builders, and operators of their own built environment. This methodology provides knowledge available to all disciplines connected, help us understand ecosystems. I am going to introduce you to multiple examples of how we connect math, nature, geometry, the energy to create shade structures for all. Each frame is a student project. Next slide, please. Inspired by nature's principle, their projects embrace biomimicry, drawing from the resilience of nature. Next slide, please. This process weaves innovation into our everyday lives and the well-being of our planet. Next slide.
We often seek relief at public fountains for my nephews, but we worry about harmful chemicals and bacteria. Hello, I'm Yanitsi, and I'm excited to be part of this project. We can change our cooling methods by transforming our alleys using our shade structures. Collaboration with ASULA Narrative and Emerging Media, Pando Populous, and Pico Union Housing create an unprecedented synergy. Community workshops will take place inside our neighborhoods. Next slide, please.
Hello, my name is Alexander Angulo. I'm a carpentry graduate and non-commissioned officer in the Army as a carpentry and masonry sergeant. My experience with heat comes from job sites within and outside of the U.S., constantly having to check on my soldiers for signs of heat illnesses. Our outcomes will be measured by the number of community members that participate and get certified, number of assets and designs in our platform, and the construction of our prototypes. Next slide, please.
Hello, I'm Lumen DeGale. I've obtained construction document permits for multiple buildings in my city and was a winner of the Watts Nature Walk competition. As a child, I've suffered with heavy and frequent nosebleeds from the heat. Our team is comprised of 32 individuals. Marcella Oliva is our faculty member who was recognized by the AIA as a 2002 Educator of the Year. Next slide.
Here you can see how we'll break down the team. My name's Marlene Valdez, and I'm an expert in architecture and engineering software. Playgrounds have been unusable since I was a child due to the scorching heat. Next slide, please. Thank you, LATTC, and all the students who participated, as well as Pando, Clean Cooling, 10 Cross, and USGBCLA.
Thank you, Clean Cooling Collaborative, for this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you. Great. So thank you, LATTC. That was amazing presentation, and the diversity of experience and perspectives you bring to your work is amazing. So I'd like to open up the floor to questions from the judges. Raise your hand, and I would be more than happy to call on you. Okay, if one of you needs to go first. All right, David, you're up.
Thank you, Duke, and congratulations to the team. You mentioned community workshops as a really important part of your process, and I agree wholeheartedly. Can you share a little bit with the audience here? What makes a good community workshop?
So for a long time, let me go. Yeah. So for a long time, we've been working with Pico Union Housing and Pando, and we've been developing lesson plans and tutorials that make the community participate as they transform the built environment. So this is nothing new. For over 10 years with Pando Populous, we've been doing these workshops. We literally go to local high schools, local universities, and we make them be part of the design part of the projects.
Fantastic. Anne, I saw you raise your hand.
Well, first of all, great job, everyone. What an incredible project. I have two questions around the open source platform. I think this is an element of your project that really takes a demonstration, something proven, and makes it accessible for others. And being all the way on the other side of the I-10 corridor from where you're located, I'm curious if you've thought about how designs from other parts of the I-10 corridor might be able to be included in this platform, if it's something you're open to adding and scaling as different cities look at different community-led design solutions. And then the second question about the platform is really, how is this going to be maintained long term? Is it something that can expand and grow? And is that something that you guys have really put some thought into, how it can be a long-term resource?
Yes, and we have put a lot of thought, because as you know, it's not only the shading structure, it will be vertical trellis, it will be cooling the roof. So we would like this to be an open source and actually have a platform for the entire 10 across. So we can actually, everybody can upload their solutions and their systems. We're working very hard with taxonomy. We have worked for over 10 years with digital twins and LEED standards and CAD standards. So it will be very scientific. The way we will incorporate, that's our dream, that every other solution actually is part of our platform. We have our Professor Arthur, he's an expert and he has great connections with all the software companies. They are all super excited to support us because we need to connect people, places, projects. As we know, the impact has to be quick. So I think we need to take advantage of these technologies without forgetting about the grids from nature. And I think this is going to be the only way that we're going to be able to solve it. So yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you.
So Stephen, as the architect on our panel, I'm sure you have some questions given the construction and design capacity of this team.
Yeah, well, congratulations on a great presentation. I think some of those questions I might have asked about your construction methodology were somewhat answered by the photograph of the model shop where everyone was actually building these prototypes, and so it actually took on a sense of realism there. My question really is about metrics, and have you envisioned a system to uniformly sort of measure the results of the implementation?
Absolutely. I think that is incredibly important for us. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, that's very important for us. So we have created over 30 years. We have a very detailed lesson plans that we have done for water, for energy, for geometry, for patterns. So all this curriculum, we have made it already for the community and by the community. So we're going to actually quantify how many people participate. We also are very close to a lot of industry certification with USGBCLA, including NOMA, where actually the students will get certified. So, and the second thing is we actually want to use sensors. We want to literally say, we already have experience on 2 projects where we were able to see all the way to how much soil, how much water is in this soil, how many bees land on a flower, become a real thing. So I think that also engages the community in a very different way. So yes, we have put a lot of thought about quantification and taxonomy and methodology using mind maps, using interactive platforms, and so on. And we hope that with this investment, it will be very fluid and augmented.
Shannon, would you want to say a few words or ask a question given your direct involvement with communities of this type?
Sure. Really, my question is, and it sounds like you've done, an extraordinary amount of work and been working with communities and in communities for a long time. When you run into challenges, what happens? I mean, I'm hearing so many wonderful successes, but I also know in doing community work and trying to make all those partnerships work, it's not always smooth, right? We have this great great ideas, and then so what are the challenges, and how do you overcome those in the work that you do with community?
Thank you, Shannon. I actually something I recently experienced. I always tell the community, we are a team like murmuration. Even to get ready for these competitions, our students work, they have family commitments, and a whole year, the way students took leadership, it was so organic. So that's one way that we create systems of abundance and participation. Number one. Number two, we really try to, when we have over probably 72 nonprofit organizations, and each organization has its own challenges. So we always want to be very open of what is their immediate need. So I leverage through different resources how they can each complement each other. I have really simple mind maps where all our partners, I even teach them a lot how to do mind mapping so they can see how they connect each other and how they can come and help. So sometimes an architect can have an afternoon. Sometimes an engineer can help us with a little detail. So we create kind of like a platform, a petri dish that allows for abundance. And also, I think our secret sauce is that a lot of people don't say like, so what? Like they don't see a light at the end of the tunnel. But when you actually can visualize and say, this is the way it looks, this is the way it could look like. I have a lot of experience with neighborhood councils. It lowers the aggression. So we use diagrams and drawings and sketches so people can visualize. So we believe design is a human right. And when we allow design to be part of the participation, it lowers the aggression. So I hope that answers few strategies that we have experienced.
Just to add on to that, many of the students in the program are also like from the communities that we're working in. So we're definitely positioning them to like have their ear to the ground, so to speak, and be future leaders in those communities and be able to like drum up change from like a more like bottom up perspective instead of just saying, oh, we have a plan and now we're putting it in this community. It's more of like a bottom up sort of thing.
Thank you for adding that. I can see that you need a wider angle lens to capture everybody who's in that room and the participation of the group. But you know, the community that you've built just on the design team comes through loud and clear. In the last 30 seconds that we have, Mr. Populous, you want to say anything about, as the community partner, about this group?
Well, it's such a great pleasure to be here and to be with them and to see the presentation and to see years of work that have come together for fruition in this. Just so proud of everything that they've done, and it's been our great pleasure to have been able to work with them and support them over multiple seasons, and we look forward to pushing ahead. Thank you all.
We're delighted that 10 Across can be the vehicle to get that done. And Anne, you get to have the final word.
Well, I was just hoping, I know we have such a limited time, but I was hoping just very quickly we could hear from at least one of the students involved from this project about what they're excited about, what this project being funding would mean to them, their studies, their future careers, or their communities, kind of anything along that veins. Sorry to put you on this spot very quickly, but we'd love to hear from you directly.
And just one of you, because we do have to move on, but I think it's a great question, Anne. Who would like to speak for the group?
Nice. Yeah, I'm happy to speak.
There you go.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is just being able to implement this in our surrounding communities and see them come to life. It's really fun seeing this develop from just a body of thought to actualization. And it's really cool to empower our communities and be a part of that and be a part of change, as was previously said.
I love that you said fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Gotta have joy, man.
Project.
Great.
Nothing but fun with architecture. Thank you guys.
All right. TTC, thank you so much for your presentation and for all the hard work you put into your project. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
Okay, we're now going to move on to our second team's presentation. Our second team is from Texas A&M Corpus Christi, sharing their solution HydroCycle Solar Harvest. This solution is designed to provide sustainable cooling and clean water access to communities that experience extreme heat, water scarcity, and unreliable power supplies. I'm going to now turn it over to the Texas A&M team.
Next slide, please. Hi, welcome to Hydrocycle Solar Harvest. We are the interdisciplinary team from Texas A&M University Corpus Christi. I'm Cody Lopez, a PhD student with a background in water resources.
My name is Laura Button. I study socio-environmental issues in the colonias.
My name is Mazen Hassan. I'm Master of Engineering.
I'm Mason Martinez. I'm an undergraduate in mechanical engineering. We also have our other teammate, Rachel Dow, who's also an undergraduate in business economics. We also have our 3 faculty mentors here today, Dr. Dorina Murguilet, Dr. Jose Baca, and Dr. Nancy Solomon. I'll hand it off to Laura. Next slide, please.
Our focus is on environmental justice challenges that the unincorporated communities along the I-10 corridor face. They struggle with extreme heat, unreliable electricity, lack of essential services, and access to clean water. As you'll see in this figure, 5 of the 8 I-10 states, one of which is Texas, are among some of the poorest in our country. Next slide. We designed our project for the South Texas colonias, predominantly Hispanic, low-income communities who combat high winds, floods, droughts. They live in self-built homes with minimal local support, necessitating our intervention. Next slide. In collaboration with the South Texas Colonia Initiative and For the Greater Good, we have tailored our project to meet the specific needs of the colonias, ensuring that our solution is community-driven and sustainable. We have long-term collaboration with our partners and colonia residents, so this was a natural progression and just another great opportunity to improve their quality of life one step at a time. Next slide.
Considering these socioeconomic conditions and the environmental factors, we decided on a single household solution that is off-grid as the power is provided by solar panels and an internal battery, and has its own water catching system to collect rainwater and dew so that we can provide water to use for the cooling system. Our main cooling system for our unit is the window unit, which I'll leave to Mason to explain in our next slide, please.
Our water reservoir is a rain barrel utilizing a radial filtering system to provide clean water for our window unit. We also are incorporating upcycled materials for a current and a water drip system. By harnessing the wind coming through the house, it's going to interact with our wet curtain made from the upcycled materials to cool the air effectively within the room by the Venturi effect. Our curtain also acts as a passive filter to capture any air particulates within the air itself. Next slide, please. To enhance air quality, we can also add in an air filter to the back of the window unit. In low wind scenarios, don't worry, we have a solution for that too, with our solar panel charging our rechargeable batteries, which will power our fans to maintain a constant airflow throughout the room to avoid any stagnant air to accumulate, with one fan extracting hot air while the other one brings in cool air. This makes our solution not only well-equipped for our local area, but well-diverse and versatile for the rest of the I-10 region. Next slide, please.
So we have a great design, but how does it make itself better than traditional air conditioning units? We start with the fact that our system is capable of running without outside electricity, so it's off-grid. We also have the fact that our system is made out of upcycled and recycled materials, making it cheaper and more eco-friendly. Next slide, please. Our system also encourages community partnerships and environmental stewardship, as we're encouraging people to build, install, and maintain these systems on their own, allowing them to take ownership of this cooling system they're going to have in their home. Next slide, please.
We are installing sensors to validate our system efficacy in reducing indoor temperature and maintaining air quality. Our units will be serving 300 households, with their community feedback guiding our future improvement. Next slide. Our aim is a scalable user-friendly design that provides comfort and clean air at the same time, backed by community education for sustainable operation, contributing to a renewable energy use and reduce CO2 emissions. Next slide. We focus on the long-term benefits that extend beyond the immediate results. So we are going to make manuals to how to build, operate, and maintain our system. In addition, we are going to make training programs with the help of our community partners. Not to mention our collaboration with Source and installing their hydro panels, which will improve our system by giving freshwater solutions. Next slide, please.
We want to thank our community partners, 10 Across, the Clean Cooling Collaborative, and of course our faculty mentors. Next slide, please. Thank you for listening.
We're ready for any questions that you'll have.
Right, and thank you to the Texas A&M team. And by the way, I really appreciate the fact that when you were showing us your solution, you also pointed out not only its qualities, but some of the things that you still need to work on, which I think is very brave and appropriate to say that you've got some more work to do. And we hope that we can help you do that. So I'd like to have the judges now respond to what you just heard from the Texas A&M team. And I see Stephen has his hand up first.
Yes, well, congratulations for an interesting project. I think that one of my questions is about adaptability to varying conditions, where when you're talking about training, I think I'm looking for a little bit more specificity in terms of how that actually rolls out and what the format is for training, what the certification might be for those who've been trained to be able to go out and be credible ambassadors for the program and to put into action. Having community members provide this in their own communities is always strong, but I think that some of the concepts seem to us to be maybe a little kind of abstract, and I wonder how much you've drilled down into the implementation of this.
Who would like to respond to that?
I can start by responding to that. We haven't exactly gone into the exact depth of what the training would exactly mean, if it's in whether that be certification, but we do have a plan to create a manual that would make it user friendly. So even if this is just to service and not to create a business that could prolong for a couple years, that no matter what, they can still fix it themselves. They would still have the 3D layout, so they could 3D printed layouts, so they could still go get it made at other parts or solutions if something were to break, exact measurements, anything, so they could still do it themselves and make our project resilient.
And also to note, TAMUCC will be continuing partnering with our community partners. So even after we all graduate, they will still have the capabilities and the same protocols that we'll have in place for the community partners, or just if they want to come up to the university, they can.
Thank you.
So, Christopher.
Yes, thank you all for your time. My question was on how will students and the faculty interact with the community partner throughout the project period?
I can also take this one. So currently, I'm a master's student with one of our faculty advisors, Dr. Marguilette. Our project is called DICES. It's a large NSF grant project, and that is working directly with the Colonias right now. And it's with both of our community partners already for the Greater Good and South Texas Colonia Initiative. So we have to work with them to find spots that would be good to see where groundwater pollution is high, or to get their feedback on any health issues in the area. So collaborating with them is already happening. And throughout this whole project, we've spoken to them, attended some of their meetings to see what they think about our project and any feedback already. But continuing, we would still attend their monthly meetings, and just with our project alone with NSF and EPA grants, just to continue to be there for a couple more years at least.
Great. Other jurors who would like to offer an observation or a question? Okay, Anne, and then Shannon.
Well, I have kind of two slightly different questions. I really appreciate that you mentioned contingency planning for periods of low wind. I also would agree with Stephen's comment that it's valuable that you put some of the limitations out there, such as high humidity. One question I had, and you can either answer it or just know that this would be something we would definitely want to know more about, is really air quality, especially from compounding threats like high heat and then a wildfire event. I know you made sure to mention an air filter, but I think making sure that we're not putting low income vulnerable communities in an even more vulnerable position by exposing their interior air to external pollutants. So that's one. And then I'm going to ask a very similar question to what I asked the first team, which is, how do you feel this is really going to either benefit your studies, your future career path, or what are you excited to see as an outcome of this project?
I can take this one. For the air quality, we are going to put air sensors inside the building itself to see the air quality and calculate the air quality index along our project. And every prototype we are going to make, we are going there to test, to take this, analyze this, and see how we can tweak our system and get it better, because the air quality will be good because we are getting air from outside. Maybe some particles but can go inside. So our system consists of fabrics. This fabric itself acts as a filter itself for any particles that will try to come inside.
And maybe one of the other team members might like to respond to Anne's question about what you've learned in this process and how you carry the learning from this exercise forward.
Okay, so well, one thing we're all learning is how to work in a team. We made it a point to make sure we were in interdisciplinary groups. We have different backgrounds coming in, engineering versus general science or environmental and chemistry and whatnot. And one thing that we're really learning is to be open to new ideas, to take in point of each other's different perspectives. And moving forward, we know that there's a lot of different opportunities that we can work forward to or work towards in terms of like not just being so narrow and focused on just water resources or just engineering itself, but like how does it work with the built environment itself? How does that work with the community around us? And how can we help each other to, develop better systems to help each other?
So Shannon, the community that was illustrated looks a lot like the people that you work with on a regular basis in the needs that they have. What would your question be?
Well, I actually just would maybe echo the second part of Anne's question about if you were to receive this prize, how do you all look at being able to move this project forward on behalf of the community?
If we were to receive this prize, it would be a tremendous step in the community. So at least with the background and history with the communities that we work for, there's kind of just been a history of, we'll do this, it'll happen again, don't worry, it'll happen at some point. And this is almost like a step forward in the sense of like almost like a step of hope towards something is actually going to happen. And then the next step with our like NSF projects and EPA grants. But in terms of actually implementing it with the community, using their community award and then our university budget and combining it to just create as many units for the households and to cool as many homes as possible.
So for the two faculty members who supported this really wonderful group, would you like to offer some additional comments and context? Because clearly they've benefited greatly from your involvement.
Yes, I could go. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Well, very, very proud of them and all the work they've done and how they worked as a team. It's a great example of interdisciplinarity and how difficult it is at times for us as professionals in our fields to connect to others and to want to learn from others. But we'll go back to the community connection, and this comes from years of learning about their challenges and learning about their needs and how trust has been lost, that something will ever happen there. And we have built that trust, and we are building upon our ongoing projects and do not want to, this is just another opportunity to build on that, but we don't want to ruin that relationship, and we do want to keep our promise. And even going forward, because water is such a big issue for them, the idea of water into the system and us trying to expand upon that with the source, the hydro panels that will also bring them clean water, access to clean water. It's so difficult to explain what the actual situation of these communities is outside to our colleagues, even sometimes that it is that difficult. It is that bad. And talking about the air quality, and that is absolutely a concern. Right now there is nothing. Right now there's just windows being open and hoping for some breeze. We're hoping that with this will at least alleviate some of that concern with the air quality, because indeed they're in the middle of agricultural fields. There is a lot of dust because of the wind, and the dust brings in particulates that are harming their health. So going forward, we're hoping we can look even further into this, like how can we maybe add another layer? And definitely that filter and the wet cloth it's a start. If we want to help as many of them as possible, that means just going forward with this more modest model. But the goal is that we're going after more funding to improve upon this.
So Professor Margaret, I just want to say thank you for bringing that up. I think the issue of trust is something that has to be an essential ingredient for any of the solutions from any of the universities and colleges, and it's great for you to remind us of that. And I'm sure the students have picked up on that. So from our friends from Texas A&M, thank you very much for your presentation. We really enjoyed it. Great work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, our third team is from the University of California, Los Angeles, presenting Cool Calibri, a revolutionary shade structure featuring a novel material that utilizes passive daytime radiative cooling to create a microclimate that is cooler than ordinary shade without any power input. I'll now turn it over to the University of California, Los Angeles team.
Hi, everyone. This is Cool Calibri, a day in the life of Carmen. Next slide. This is Carmen. She's a 58-year-old outdoor vendor living in Pacoima, and she's one of an estimated 50,000 street vendors in LA. As an outdoor vendor, Carmen is vulnerable to extreme heat and the urban heat island effect. She's brought this problem to her local environmental justice nonprofit, Pacoima Beautiful, and the students of UCLA. Next slide.
What are Carmen's options? Since the community of Pacoima is almost entirely sun exposed, she can't always find shade. Her job also creates limitations. She has to prioritize where the customers are likely to be, and sometimes permitting restricts her from setting up in certain areas. So she does her best to take refuge from the sun by using a standard easy up or an umbrella. Next slide.
How can we help Carmen? Government curated cooling centers are typically community buildings such as libraries or shopping centers and come with restrictions, not to mention they use energy-intensive HVAC systems. Pacoima also has one formal cooling center in the entirety of the neighborhood, highlighting the need for additional resources. Urban greenery is not always accessible, and an ordinary easy-up shield from the intense radiating warmth of the sun provides no additional cooling. Next slide.
What if we could shield Carmen from the sun, but also create a space that feels 5 degrees cooler than ordinary shade in an inexpensive and passive way so that energy input is not required? Essentially, we would be creating a more effective shade. Next slide.
We can do this using passive daytime radiative cooling, which is a fascinating and eco-friendly phenomenon that relies on the natural process of thermal radiation to dissipate heat. Here's how it works. Every object, including cars, the asphalt, and even the earth itself, emit heat in the form of infrared radiation. Next slide. Some of this radiation can travel through the atmosphere and escape into the coldness of space, resulting in a cooling power of around 100 watts per meter squared. However, during the daytime, this effect is completely overwhelmed by the sun's 900 watts per meter squared of radiative warming. So it's imperative that one shield themselves from the sun. But the problem is that most materials that block the sun also don't allow thermal radiation to pass through. So our solution is an innovative material that prevents sunlight from reaching Carmen, but still allows the heat generated by her body to pass through, thus enabling passive daytime radiative cooling. Next slide.
Most materials do not allow infrared radiation to pass through, so we made our own. We used an inexpensive commonplace plastic sheet, low-density polyethylene, and coated it with a thin layer of germanium using a standard technique known as sputtering. Germanium is known for its superb light absorption and remarkable transparency to infrared radiation. Next slide. The simulations indicated that the material can achieve an infrared temperature of up to 15 degrees Fahrenheit cooler than the surrounding air temperature. We hope to measure this with an IR gun, but the infrared temperature isn't necessarily a good indicator of thermal comfort. Considering that the tent roof covers only a limited portion of what Carmen can see from the inside, and taking into account various other factors that can contribute to thermal comfort, including air temperature, wind speed, and humidity, it is estimated that the inside of this tent will feel approximately 5 degrees Fahrenheit cooler than the outside air. We hope to see that the globe thermometer temperature is 5 degrees cooler than inside a regular shade structure. Next slide.
Cool Calibri's greatest strength lies in its innovative technology that may offer a 5 degree Fahrenheit cooler shade without any external power input. And it's done in a way that's cost-effective and highly mobile, making it a unique solution in the cooling market. However, our greatest weakness is that we haven't tested it yet. So there is a possibility that the cooling effect is not strong enough to be noticeable or effective. But if successful, Cool Calibri sees an enormous opportunity amidst environmental sustainability trends as an eco-friendly heat relief solution that has many uses, including for outdoor workers, urban planners, and outdoor events. Finally, perhaps our largest threat comes from alternative cooling solutions, such as misting or hydronic radiative cooling, which compromise on mobility or cost efficiency, but do provide more powerful cooling. Next slide.
Our plan is to construct 10 to 20 Cool Calibri structures, and with the help from Pacoima Beautiful, we'll collaborate with local residents to receive feedback on the effectiveness of our solution. Pacoima Beautiful will also organize informative workshops on how our solution can best be applied and identify vendors who may benefit the most from that. Next slide.
If successful, the technology could have benefits beyond providing heat relief to street vendors. Cool Calibri can become a resource in city planning by providing shade in schools, public spaces, or serve as part of emergency heat response. For example, Cool Calibri could be used in the eastern Coachella Valley, another heat burden site, and provide effective shade to farm workers on the field. By providing heat relief for communities' work and play, Cool Calibri encourages people to stay active in their community and support their local economy. Ultimately, its versatility could lead to low cost heat relief within communities. Next slide.
And then this is our team. This is Shandy, I'm Aryan, and this is Hannah, and then we have David. Next slide. And then we just want to say a big thank you to our faculty advisors, Oswath Rahman and Walker Wells, as well as our community partner from Pacoima Beautiful, Miguel.
Thank
you.
you.
Great, and a wonderful presentation, and like the two before you, very crisply done, beautifully articulated, well illustrated. Thank you so much for that. So now I want to open it up to our reviewers for your observations and questions. Dave Handula, you're up first.
Yeah, thanks, UCLA team. Great presentation and concept. Here in Phoenix, we're big passive cooling film and surface fans as well. So probably thinking about some of the same questions you are. For this national audience, I was hopeful you could share a little bit about maintenance of this innovative surface and durability. I think the folks on the call have used the types of pop-up tents you're talking about. No, they're in a hostile urban setting. They're getting thrown in and out of vans and trucks. They get beat up a lot. How do you see that real world use case matching up with the really exciting innovation you're proposing?
So for maintenance, the way it works, it's almost just the same as taking care of any regular easy up. There's no particular maintenance that needs to be done. The dust that would potentially settle on the surface of this doesn't actually have a direct impact on its ability to transmit infrared radiation through. So the maintenance isn't necessarily any different than what you'd be doing at the regular easy up. And then David, if you want to handle durability.
Yeah, so as far as durability goes, the main question is how well the germanium adheres to low density polyethylene. And so far in our preliminary studies, it adheres incredibly well. So we don't foresee any issues with the material in the long term, but of course that is a thing that we will have to test as we begin to build.
Okay,
Thanks very
Stephen
much.
and then Anna. Oh, excuse me, Stephen, then Ann. You need to unmute yourself, Stephen.
Thank you, Duke. I get one of those per award ceremony. Yeah, well, I was saying, welcome UCLA, homeboys and girls. I just was curious as to whether you've built a prototype, and if not, why not? And if it's so analogous to the easy ups, then I would question the opportunity to introduce a new system that had perhaps a bit more robust architecture to it, a structure, the little poles that we so often see as we pass by in the evenings, the vendors that are out cooking, on the sidewalks and whatnot. They look like if a wind like last week's wind, which you all from here experienced, could just blow them away. So I'm looking for something more durable, a sense of permanence. How can you respond to that?
So actually, it's a great point, and we actually see the impermanence of our structures as a strength, because it allows us to get around a lot of permitting obstacles that these vendors face. So it enables us to have a more distributed cooling solution throughout Pacoima and hopefully across the Tenecos region.
Like if you take bus shelters, for example, like they seem like a simple solution to provide transit riders shield them from the sun. But if you follow all the regulations like ADU requirements on the public right of way, it can really skyrocket the cost. So we want to highlight that our solution is mobile and can be directly given to the community members without having to go through code requirements.
Fair enough.
And then in regards to building the structure, so what we have done is we have taken a sheet of LDPE, so the low density polyethylene plastic we mentioned, and then sputtered a layer of germanium on top of it. From there, we have looked at its ultraviolet and visible properties, and that is exactly what we'd expect, or very similar to what we'd expect via simulation. And using that, we are able to kind of back up our 5 degree Fahrenheit cooler value. The reason we haven't made a full scale structure yet is because of the fact that in order to do large scale sputtering on top of low density polyethylene, we need some more sources of funding. And that's kind of what we're looking for from the Clean Cooling Collaborative.
So you got to remember, your question came from an architect who's always looking for a better building. But at the same time, I think you're emphasizing accessibility, affordability, adaptability. So I think it's a great response. Anne.
Great job. I really appreciate how much you focused on the experience of your residents and how it'll be improved. I think that's wonderful. One thing that I'm always thinking about and looking for is, really how can this be adapted and applied across the I-10 transect? And I'm curious if this technology, if you're aware of really how it would perform in a very high humid environment. Coming from Florida, that's certainly my perspective. I appreciate Dave Hondula chiming in about durability, because obviously when we have summer rain events and summer storms that can come with high wind at a moment's notice. So I think the durability of piece piqued my interest, given that I'm on the other side of the I-10 corridor. But then I also really wanted to know if you've thought about humidity and how this might be able, if successful in your community, to be scaled to other communities across the South.
Yeah, so that's a really good question. And I guess in terms of the durability and dealing with rain, we have noticed that the adhesion from the germanium layer on top of the LDPE is pretty strong. So we're not necessarily worried about water just kind of washing away the germanium layer. In terms of humidity, so I guess the reason why the infrared radiation is able to transmit through our structure and into space, I guess the fact that it can transmit through the structure, the humidity between the person and the structure above you isn't necessarily a relevant factor, because there's just not that much air. So it'll transmit through the structure just fine. As it passes the structure and is going in, leaving the atmosphere into space, the humidity will certainly have an impact, but it's not a particularly large impact, because of the fact that the absorption peaks of water are like around 2 and 3 microns, whereas the body heat we're emitting is much more between 8 and 13 microns. So the range at which we're emitting energy is different than what would be absorbed by the water in a high humidity environment.
Sure.
Yeah.
So we've only got about a minute left, and I understand this is very compressed, but nevertheless, it's the way we're running this competition, given that there's been a lot of pre-work done. I'm looking to either Professor Wells or Professor Rahman. Would one of you like to say something about the team that you've clearly done some incredible work with, and we really appreciate your support? Anything you'd like to add to what they've already articulated very well?
Maybe I could say a couple of quick things here. Radiant cooling as a concept has been around 10 years, but it's been historically focused on making really white materials, like really reflective materials. And that won't necessarily cool people down. I think what's really innovative here is that it's an entirely passive way of keeping people and their cooler and improving their thermal comfort. This team, it builds on a lot of work we've done in Pacoima already, along with Walker as well. And so it's kind of a very unique combination of community-driven engagement as well as scientific advancements as well. And so that's what I find really exciting about it.
Yeah, I think what we're finding is that you all at universities and colleges represented here have made your own luck by working on these kind of projects and with communities for a long time. I think we've simply opened a window of opportunity for that work to be showcased, but we really appreciate that work that you have done to make this possible. So I'd like to thank the UCLA team for a fantastic presentation. Thank you to the faculty advisors. We really appreciate the work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So welcome. Okay. The next team up, the fourth team, is from Loyola University of New Orleans, presenting Green Roofs Are Cool. Green Roofs Are Cool proposes a variety of options for growing plants on rooftops of assorted shapes and sizes based on the design and construction of buildings and the interest of their owners and residents in New Orleans, Louisiana, and beyond. I'll now turn it over to the Loyola University team. Okay, you need to, there we go.
Hi, thank you, Duke. Next slide. Thank you for choosing us as a finalist. We are the Green Roofs Are Cool team from Loyola University, New Orleans. My name is Abby, and I'm a part of this diverse team that has unique disciplines that allowed us to make our solution great. We have Marianne, who is the director of our environmental law program here, and she's also the founder of our community partner, Recirculating Farms, which is an experienced environmental and food justice organization here in New Orleans. Next slide. So what is our clean cooling solution all about? Well, you know and love how New Orleans is a hotspot for food, music, and art, but we're also a literal hotspot. There's a lack of green space in our city, and that has devastating effects on the well-being of our environment, as well as the people who make this city so great. This heat map here shows that it's the neighborhoods with the least amount of income who suffer from the most of our heat. And so to tackle this intense problem, our Clean Cooling Project proposes 3 accessible green roof solutions that include agriculture, hydroponics, and air plants. Our green roof solutions will cool down the people, the city, as well as offer numerous community benefits. The most important thing about our green roof solutions is that it's flexible based on your building type, your budget, and your goals. Thank you. Next slide.
Hi, I'm Anna, and I'm here to tell you what makes our solution special. Green roofs work, and they've been proven around the world for years, particularly in Paris, France, where green roofs were just made mandatory for commercial buildings. The U.S. Environmental Protection Agency recently found that roofs with plants are on average 30 to 40 degrees cooler than roofs without. What makes our solution unique is that we're not just providing one solution, but 3 that can be modified to your unique building. Green roofs are also affordable, which makes them more accessible. And traditionally high costs keep cities like New Orleans continuously left behind. Next slide, please.
Hi, my name is Eric. Our strengths include flexibility, cost effectiveness, and proven success and scalability as seen around the world. Our perceived weaknesses are the need for new laws and the need for training for green roof installations. Our biggest opportunities are the momentum towards green infrastructure in neighborhoods in our city and elsewhere, as well as an increase in climate awareness. Our biggest threat is hurricanes, but with a proper solution, these roofs can withstand high winds. Another concern is insurance, but again, with good information and awareness, this can be resolved. This will be key for a cooler and more sustainable New Orleans. Nikki's slide.
Hi, next slide. Okay, thank you. Hi, my name is Nikandra, and this is how our team will measure success. By adding green roofs throughout the city, the EPA estimates that the overall ambient temperature can be reduced by 5 degrees, which is our goal. We also expect to reduce the city's energy use and cost. In addition to cooling, green roofs provide many other community benefits. such as absorption of stormwater to reduce flooding and filtering air and water for a cleaner environment, which can lead to a better overall health. Our roofs can also grow food and create habitat for pollinators. Overall, people will be a lot happier looking at all the added pretty spaces. Next slide, please.
Thank you, Nikki. Hi, I'm Layla, and we have proposed 3 types of flexible green roofs: air plants, hydroponics, and agricultural types to fit the dynamic character New Orleans and other cities have. The addition of air plants, like Spanish moss, which is found in abundance here, can be easily installed. For our second option, we have hydroponics, which can support a large variety of plants, using water as an alternative growing medium. For agricultural roof types, they can be as simple or complex as a property owner's building, budget, and goals. Next slide.
Hey y'all, I'm Michael. I'm a master's student at Loyola, and I also work as the farm director for our community partner, Recirculating Farms. Recirculating Farms runs an urban farm, teaches a wide variety of classes, and works toward increasing local food security, managing large budgets and projects every day. Next slide, please. Recirculating Farms also has the perfect spaces, which will allow us to test every proposed roof type. We'll be able to provide training to the community, as well as growing and sourcing plants, which will help aid in the mass adoption of the green roof cooling solution. So why should a Clean Cooling Collaborative invest in our project? Well, as a native New Orleanian, trust me, y'all, I know hot. And it's hotter than a bottle of hot sauce down here, y'all. It's time for us to get cool down here in New Orleans. So we propose our Cool Green Roofs. Cool Green Roofs are carbon capturing, energy saving, beautifying solutions, which can provide a wide variety of ecosystem services, as well as provide food, and also has the potential to create jobs. Next slide, please. We would like to thank everyone involved and give a special shout out to Kathy, Kelly, and the Clean Cooling Collaborative. Thank you very much, and we're excited to bring this cooling, beautifying solution to New Orleans. Let the cool times roll.
Fantastic presentation. And in the interest of full disclosure, I went to a little school right next door to yours. So when you tell me it's hot and humid there, I recognize that. So anyway, let's get on with questions and observations from our panelists. And I'm looking at Stephen, who's eager to get this started. Go ahead, Stephen.
I am certainly eager. Great presentation. I think I have the same question today as I did when reviewing the proposal during our adjudication period. And the portrayal of the green roofs, and I was thinking about Chicago and Mayor Daley and making that a requirement in that city, and they were able to actually implement quite a bit. But there is certainly a logistics and cost implication when you're going to add load and drainage issues to an existing roof. And if you're talking about civic buildings, that's one thing. But if you're talking about apartment buildings or privately owned real estate, you know, there's got to be a cost benefit established somewhere in there. So I just wondered how rigorously you looked at the actual implementation and not to just rely on the Spanish moss alternative, which looks light enough to be able to install anywhere. So just wanted to put that out there as a challenge.
So our solution is very flexible. You're able to install whatever type of roof is able to go into your house. So if you have somewhere that can't handle a large load, you can install the air plant model. But if you have somewhere that can handle a slightly larger load, you can use a hydroponic or intensive agriculture method. As far as handling the weight of water, we will have rain barrels that are on the side of the house that will pump the water up to the plant and then trickle back down. So there will never be constant weight of water on top of the house. We'll also work very closely with one of our partners who is an engineering firm that we've worked with at Recirculating Farms in the past.
Anne.
Great job, everyone. I will also, in the effort of full disclosure, say I have some ties and used to work with the city of New Orleans. So I think one thing when reviewing your application that really leaped off the page to me was the connection to the community, and also now being with the city of Jacksonville and wanting to think about how these types of solutions are scaled. I wondered if you could share a bit about how you feel you have a unique approach to community engagement around green roofs, and how that might, the findings from this project might make it easier for other communities across the I-10 corridor to establish connections with community organizations and replicate these types of projects.
Yeah, so what's awesome about our solution is that we're already doing it Green roofs, I know Recirculating Farms already has implemented some of them in the city, and they already have a long-standing like connection with the community here. And so alongside that, I think our solution is really unique in the fact that you don't have to necessarily have a green roof on your roof to reap the benefits of it, because you're still going to get cleaner air, cleaner water. Flooding is, if you guys are, some of you have been to New Orleans, you know that flooding and standing water are really big problems here, and there's reduction of those alongside. It's just pretty, and that has a lot of psychological benefits in its own. So there's lots of benefits that come even if you aren't the one directly getting the roof.
And I'd like to also just point out that Recirculating Farms has a lot of experience doing this already. As Anna mentioned, we've installed green roofs around New Orleans, and we also have experience bringing innovative growing practices to the nation and abroad. So this isn't anything new for us, and collaboration with community partners is something that we really pride ourselves on, and we have gotten a lot of work done in New Orleans, which is a city that is traditionally not thought of as somewhere that's an agricultural hub, but trust me, we've made great strides into making that more of a reality.
Okay, Dave, and then Christopher.
Yeah, I just wanted to build on Ann's question with our east-west exchange here across the I-10. Let's for a moment just take an extreme position that cool roofs aren't a good solution in a dry climate. And we can debate that, but that's not really the point of the question. Let's just say cool roofs are off the table in a place like Phoenix. You all clearly have a process there that's working, the relationships, the experience that you talked about. Can you articulate for this national audience, what are those important lessons learned that are scalable aside from the technology, aside from the plants, aside from the soil? What are the really important lessons learned about the process that you think you can scale up elsewhere?
I believe that scaling up elsewhere will require us to go into these communities and not think that we have the solution right off the bat. So we're coming to people with prototypes, but we're going to value local knowledge very heavily, so we can create solutions that work directly to these people's needs and in their environment, instead of trying a one-size-fits-all approach, which is really one of the biggest strengths of our solutions. That is very flexible and customizable to any person's budget, need, priorities, including environment.
Christopher.
Great. Thank you for your time. It was a pleasure reviewing your application. And my question is if you anticipate any challenges in the long-term use of the project.
Yeah, so a couple of our challenges that we have kind of anticipated have to do with laws and regulations around green roofs. We do plan to advocate for green roofs similar to the path that solar roof installation followed. For example, we definitely need new and updated zoning and permitting laws, so that way property owners can have a streamlined approach to getting these roofs of any type installed wherever they'd like, as well as increased laws for incentivizing property owners to put this solution on their roofs. And those are like the major two that in terms of just long-term problems that we might run into. But also, as another judge previously mentioned, this is also happening in cities like Chicago. New York is another one, as well as San Francisco, that as we spread more awareness about green roofs, we can also use what those cities have done to kind of trickle out our ideas.
One of the other issues that we talked about was insurance. We all know that when new technology comes, the insurance companies kind of complain about it, and they worry whether they should insure these new building techniques. But in our research, we recognize that solar panels and tin roofs and tile roofs have all gone through that process. And it's really just about more information and awareness in encouraging insurance companies to accept this new style of building.
I think those are all answers in response to Dave Handula's question and the process that you need to go through, no matter where you are, whether it's the actual physical environment or the temperatures, the water, the heat, etc., as well as the regulatory environment in each place. And I think you're to be commended for examining all of those issues as they relate to whatever solution you might come up with. So I want to thank the Loyola University team for your presentation. Very clear, beautifully done. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. So now we're getting closer. Our last presentation of the day. Our final team comes from Northern Arizona University, presenting Project Smart Fan. Project Smart Fan leverages fluctuating temperatures and the night-day temperature difference to bring in cool air when it's hot or hot air when it's cool, redefining affordable cooling for underserved communities. I'll now turn it over to the Northern Arizona University team.
Excellent. Good morning. We're excited to present to you today an innovative solution with the potential to revolutionize the way we approach energy efficiency and well-being in our homes, the Smart Fan. I'm Connor Mann, a double major in computer science and modern languages with an emphasis in French.
My name is Connor Swingle, and I am majoring in computer science with a minor in cybersecurity.
I'm Trevor Johnson, and I'm a double major in computer science and modern languages Japanese.
My name is Brandon Mack, and my major is in software engineering. Next slide, please.
Many families across the I-10 corridor don't have access to air conditioning systems, and those that do face high costs paired with high carbon footprints. HVAC accounts for nearly half of all household energy usage in the United States, and Arizona in particular uses much more air conditioning than the rest of the country. Next slide, please. Imagine a low-income family living in northern Arizona where the days are hot and the nights are cold. They want to come home every day to a cool home, but they can't afford the high AC bill if they're lucky enough to have AC at all. What if instead they had a super low energy system that wisely took advantage of cooler temperatures at night and early in the day to keep their home cool at a reasonable cost? This is the vision of Project Smart Fan, a climate control system that uses simple box fans running at optimal times throughout the day and night to leverage outside temperatures rather than fight against them. It is just what it sounds like, a window fan, but a super smart one. Next slide, please.
Smart Fan emulates what we all do, but much more efficiently. We open windows to get cool or hot air to come in. Smart Fan does the same, but with fans automatically and in an optimized way. It works with its two main components, a window box fan or a wall-mounted one, and a control panel to set the desired temperature. The control panel works similarly to the wall-mounted HVAC control that many of us are familiar with. An AI algorithm uses temperature and air quality sensors and optionally predicted weather data from the internet to choose the best cooling or heating times. For example, if your desired temperature is set to 65 degrees, but it's 75 degrees inside, while the outside temperature is 60 degrees, a common occurrence, then the fan will activate to begin cooling. Next slide, please. Some of the strengths of Smart Fan are the cheap and easy installation and the minimum energy usage that make it so accessible. What could possibly be more accessible than a window fan? The automated cooling and heating allows for a hassle-free experience, lowering bills, emissions, and power grid strain. Potential weaknesses include needing an environment with meaningful temperature fluctuation and consistent access to power. Moving on to opportunities, we know that people need and want affordable cooling solutions, and we are excited to provide this solution to them. Our collaborations with Habitat for Humanity and Product Insight give us the chance to help those in real need and work with a world-class product design firm looking for entry into the sustainability market. This funding would also support upcoming capstone projects. To achieve maximum impact, we plan on turning this into a venture that will manufacture and sell smart fans at scale. The principal threat to Smart Fan, we believe, is the big HVAC players who have something to lose here. Climate change may also increase temperatures so high in some regions that despite continuing fluctuations, more active solutions are necessary. Next slide, please. While reliance on temperature fluctuations may seem like a weakness, actually, there are massive fluctuations that Smart Fan can take advantage of, particularly in the Western United States throughout the year. This map shows the huge fluctuations in July in the United States. Next slide, please.
So what is it we hope to achieve with Smart Fan? We seek to build a radically accessible system which can be installed and operated with familiarity and ease. We aim for this to cut max indoor temps by at least 5 degrees Celsius and cut electricity bills by 25% or more. Next slide, please. This will enable Smart Fan to effectively cool homes, such as these starter homes, during the summer, as well as being able to provide a bit of heating in the winter. Additionally, we will be able to work in tandem with standard HVAC to help reduce usage of these systems and thereby lower costs and emissions. Next slide, please. To that end, we have a deal with Product Insight to facilitate the further development and manufacturing of Smart Fan. Product Insight is a product development company that works with other businesses and teams like ours to achieve great things and to bring SmartFan to the next level, which will help our implementation partner. Next slide, please. Habitat for Humanity of Northern Arizona in support of their starter home program. SmartFan will integrate with 40 new homes with this prize to further reduce the cost of living for these families, evaluate the effectiveness of SmartFan, and may yet pave the way for additional plans in the future. Next slide, please.
With our team's expertise, we have the talent necessary to turn Project SmartFan into a reality. With the trial data obtained through the deployment of these fans in the Habitat for Humanity homes, we can pursue additional manufacturing and sell these devices worldwide. Your investment will go miles, maybe even much more than that, in increasing underserved people's well-being across the I-10 corridor and around the world. Next slide, please. Huge shout out to the sponsors of this competition, the 10 Across Initiative and Clean Cooling Solutions, and our community and technical partners. And a very special thank you to the state and local groups who recognize the value of our work and have expressed interest in supporting SmartFan if our project is funded. Next slide, please. Any questions?
Great. Thank you very much to the Northern Arizona University team. A really smart, crisp presentation as per usual here. So I'd like to turn it over to the judges for your observations and questions. Shannon, I'm not sure you got anything in on the last one. Do you want to offer an observation? I don't mean to put you so much on the spot, but any observations you might have about this one?
No, sure. I would love for you to talk. I mean, it wasn't, and forgive me, as a community partner, it wasn't clear to me. Do you have a prototype that you've tested, or is it your hope to use this prize in order to work with Habitat for Humanity? I'm just curious about that partnership and what that looks like today versus where I think you did a wonderful job describing where you'd like it to go and where it could go in the future with the tech partner that you have.
I'll take this one. So we do have a prototype from a capstone group prior to us running on home automation. Currently, these systems do interconnect. There has been a trial run in a dorm room. However, we're bringing the software aspect into the fold. From there, we plan to hand it over to a mechanical engineering team to further refine our algorithm for heating and cooling, since they're going to know a bit more about thermodynamics, as well as, if we are able to pass through with the funding, getting product insight in on the project with the mechanical engineering team, working with them to help deliver this product. And as for Habitat for Humanity, mostly we are pushing to implement with them as opposed to working side by side to develop the product.
And just to follow up with that briefly, sorry, I'm getting back here. For Habitat for Humanity, we're going to implement in these 40 homes, but if it's successful, and we expect that it will be, we hope to have this become part of their starter home program. And so we hope to scale both with Habitat as well as scale massively with this cheap solution.
Thank you. And thanks for chiming in there, Alexander. Dave, you had your hand up.
Yeah, thanks, Duke, and kudos to the team. Great presentation and cool idea. No pun intended. Two questions, if I might, Duke. One about the kind of day-to-day installation and management. Looking at Phoenix's temperatures from last July, and this isn't on the cover of our tourism brochure, but the coolest minute in Phoenix last July was 81 degrees. So people in Phoenix might be inclined to try to keep the building sealed up for that entire month. How hard is it to install and remove the unit during heading into a time period when it might always be too hot or always be too cold for that matter?
So our initial plan is for just a window, like box fans, like you might see a window-mounted air conditioner. And then we hope with Product Insight to move forward with some sort of a wall-mounted or wall-installed product that would be like completely sealed, which would be a plus over just the window installed unit.
Yeah,
Great,
and so
thanks.
the
But,
window
I'm
installed.
not imagining.
Sorry,
Oh, sorry. After you.
sorry, yeah. So basically, the window installed unit would be dead easy, right, to install. That's the idea, is for the radical accessibility, is to have it be less than $100 and maybe even free with IRA funding for certain communities. Hopefully, we plan on pursuing that. And installation is just ridiculously easy.
Okay, and by the way, David, I remember that 180-degree minute in July last year fondly. That was a special moment in my summer. Christopher.
Yes, I'm wondering about the integration of this of the smart fan. I know that you mentioned 40 new units. If those units will also have HVAC systems as well.
Team?
I believe this would be a question best suited for Alexander or Aaron.
Yeah, they will have AC and heating in there already. And so the idea is to have smart fan work in conjunction with them. A lot of times these units don't get turned on in the first place, right, by the residents who don't want to pay the bills. So we would hope to reduce the load on their existing HVAC systems, yes.
Dave, back to you. I think you wanted to follow up.
Oh, only if none of my colleagues do. I have a geography quiz for the team here. We're talking about radical accessibility and thinking about scaling up. You mentioned how important temperature fluctuation is, and not every solution that works in every location. So you look across the landscape of the United States, are there a couple of markets that are maybe a little less attractive for climate and geography reasons? And then where do you think the real sweet spots are? What are the climate zones where this is a home run?
So some locations that we've already deemed to be less than ideal, a lot of it's based on the winter and summer, because this solution would work very well in Phoenix in the winter, where you could pull in hot air during the warmer day to keep the house warmer. But when the temperature fluctuation in the summer is between 90 and 120, you're not going to be wanting to bring any air in. So any environment like that in the summer where it never drops to a comfortable temperature outside, those are the environments that would not be ideal for this product. And other environments that would be ideal are the ones that have a very like regulated temperature, almost kind of like maybe coastal, where temperature really never goes above 85 degrees, never really goes below 65 degrees. And we think in a situation like that, it could be very, very effective.
So in the minute we have left, Professor Wolkowinski, did you want to offer anything? You didn't have a chance to speak. You're on mute.
There we go. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. I just wanted to follow up on that last answer and say that Flagstaff is an ideal place for the smart fan to operate. Many of us here in town, including myself, do not have air conditioning units in our house. And over the last, 5 to 10 years, summertime has gotten much, much harder to manage the thermal well-being inside of our homes. And so something like the smart fan would be a home run hit for all of Northern Arizona. The reservation and this neighborhood that we plan to work with Habitat for Humanity to install the fans in we're really excited to use it as kind of a living laboratory to see how well it works in these conditions.
So again, I think like the others, an intense focus on place and the specifics of that place where you're offering the solution, which I think has to be true for any of the things that have been offered today. So
yeah, there are many places where this would work, but many we acknowledge that it's not ideal for, but we're excited.
Right. And again, why we asked you to select a specific community and/or geography, to Dave's point, in which you want to work. Okay, thank you very much to the Northern Arizona University team. Really appreciate your presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we are with phenomenally little technical issues at the point in our program where we're going to take a short break. Again, I want to reiterate my thanks and the whole team's thanks to what the teams have provided us with, the extraordinary work you put in. This has been a great morning thus far. So our judges are now going to take the next 25 minutes, maybe less, to deliberate on which team will receive the 10X grand prize. That's $100,000 for the team and prototyping and $50,000 for the community partner. We will also be announcing the People's Choice Award when we come back. So here's a chance for all the teams, all the people at the various watch parties, which we've been seeing on the screen, which is fantastic, to grab a cup of coffee, think about what you've just seen, watch some videos from the Clean Cooling Collaborative, and we will be back in approximately 20 to 25 minutes, which puts that at about 5 minutes before the top of the hour. Okay, so we will see you all soon. Thank you very much.
Many parts of the country are bracing for another day of scorching heat.
Power grid operators have declared an emergency due to spiking electricity demand, with hundreds of thousands of people experiencing rolling blackouts.
The planet is warming, and people, food, and medicine need to stay cool. Without cooling, lives, health, and well-being are at risk. But today, most air conditioning and refrigeration are heating the planet, part of a vicious cycle. The hotter Earth gets, the more cooling we need. This requires energy and warms the planet even more. We need clean cooling now. That's why KSEP, the Kigali Cooling Efficiency Program, started in 2017. Working with our partners, we have advanced efficient, climate-friendly cooling in more than 55 countries. We've had a major impact on reducing emissions and improving lives, and we're just getting started. Moving forward, KSEP will be the Clean Cooling Collaborative, and we're expanding our scope to focus on 3 primary solution areas: super efficient appliances, climate-friendly refrigerants, and passive cooling. We'll continue to work globally with a focus on regions that have the greatest impact on cooling emissions.
We get the freshest natural air of Jakarta really early in the morning. People often air out their home first thing before the heat of the sunrise start to creep in. As the day traffic increase and the sun starts to beam down, the air quality starts to get worsened and the heat starts to rise. People are forced to close down their windows and to start switching on their air conditioner, simply just to be able to carry on with their work. That's the reality of climate change for a lot of people living in Jakarta. As a native Jakarta, I can totally attest that there are a big construction boom, and it's not only happening downtown Jakarta, it's also happening outskirts of Jakarta. There are more commercial centers, office buildings, high-rise residential areas. Air conditioning is no longer a luxury, but this is more like a necessity. Well, it's almost like every household is installing at least one ACs. And the thing is, they don't have always the access to the most performing ACs in the market. They would normally prefer the one that has a lower investment cost in the beginning.
My name is Beta Paramita. So actually, Beta is come from Alpha Beta Gamma. So my brother is Alpha, so I supposed to be Beta, but not Beta version. I'm a lecturer in Universitas Pendidikan Indonesia. My dissertation topic was about urban heat island It was 8 years ago where not so many people in Indonesia have a knowledge about this kind of things. This is also my motivation to spread the knowledge, the importance of global warming mitigation, how to make people aware that our Earth become more warm year by year. Tangerang is surrounded by industrial area and also high dense settlement. We found one family who an elderly couple live with their grandchild. So this is kind of typically low income housing in a metropolitan cities of Indonesia.
Ibu emang gerah terus, panas deh bakal gerah aja, makanya kupat tangan celap-celap aja.
Emang selalu pingsan,
Iya.
mau tidur karena kan tergantung dari diabetes Pak.
Oh.
Karena di sini nih refleks kita.
Di situ ada reflektansi matahari 0,84. Artinya dia bisa merefleksikan 84% sinar matahari yang masuk ke dalam surface material. It's quite hot. Indoor temperature is 40 degrees Celsius. And then after we paint all the surface, we make the measurement. The indoor temperature can reduce around 11 degrees Celsius. Belajar dari jam berapa sampai jam berapa? Pulang sekolah atau maghrib?
Kan masuk siang ya.
Oh, masuk
jadi
siang.
pagi. Belajarnya.
Oh, belajar pagi. Jadi
pas belajar tuh jadi kayak lebih adem gitu.
Lebih enak ya. Involving the student will be part of my research. If they got the understanding about the cause and effect of climate change, especially in building construction.
Definitely, I would like to see my nieces and my nephew to see Jakarta as I have seen it during my childhood years. We need to adapt to rising temperature, but also to reduce greenhouse gases. This is where Climate Works Foundation is playing its role through the Clean Cooling Collaborative. This initiative is committed to reduce the sector's greenhouse gas emission and making efficient, climate-friendly cooling accessible to all.
Another day of scorching heat.
Power grid operators have declared an emergency due to spiking electricity demand, with hundreds of thousands of people experiencing rolling blackouts.
The planet is warming, and people, food, and medicine need to stay cool. Without cooling, lives, health, and well-being are at risk. But today, most air conditioning and refrigeration are heating the planet, part of a vicious cycle. The hotter Earth gets, the more cooling we need. This requires energy and warms the planet even more. We need clean cooling now. That's why KSEP, the Kigali Cooling Efficiency Program, started in 2017. Working with our partners, we have advanced efficient, climate-friendly cooling in more than 55 countries. We've had a major impact on reducing emissions and improving lives, and we're just getting started. Moving forward, KSEP will be the Clean Cooling Collaborative, and we're expanding our scope to focus on 3 primary solution areas: super efficient appliances, climate-friendly refrigerants, and passive cooling. We'll continue to work globally with a focus on regions that have the greatest impact on cooling emissions.
We get the freshest natural air of Jakarta really early in the morning. People often air out their home first thing before the heat of the sunrise start to creep in. As the day traffic increase and the sun starts to beam down, the air quality starts to get worsened and the heat starts to rise. people are forced to close down their windows and to start switching on their air conditioner, simply just to be able to carry on with their work. That's the reality of climate change for a lot of people living in Jakarta. As a native Jakarta, I can totally attest that there are a big construction boom, and it's not only happening downtown Jakarta, it's also happening outskirts of Jakarta. There are more commercial centers, office buildings, high-rise residential areas. Air conditioning is no longer a luxury, but this is more like a necessity. Well, it's almost like every household is installing at least one ACs. And the thing is, they don't have always the access to the most performing ACs in the market. They would normally prefer the one that has a lower investment cost in the beginning.
My name is Beta Paramita. So actually, Beta is come from Alpha Beta Gamma. So my brother is Alpha, so I supposed to be Beta, but not Beta version. I'm a lecturer in Universitas Pendidikan Indonesia. My dissertation topic was about urban heat island. It was 8 years ago, where not so many people in Indonesia have a knowledge about this kind of things. This is also my motivation to spread the knowledge, the importance of global warming mitigation, how to make people aware that our Earth become more warm year by year. Tangerang is surrounded by industrial area and also high dense settlement. We found one family who an elderly couple live with their grandchild. So this is kind of typically low-income housing in a metropolitan cities of Indonesia.
Ibu emang genah terus, panas deh bakal genah aja, makanya kupat angin telah nyalak aja.
Emang selalu pingsan,
Iya.
mau tidur karena kan tergantung dari diabetes Pak.
Oh.
Karena di sini nih refleks kita.
Di situ ada reflektansi matahari 0,84. Artinya dia bisa merefleksikan 84% sinar matahari yang masuk ke dalam surface material. And it's quite hot. Indoor temperature is 40 degrees Celsius. And then after we paint all the surface, we make the measurement, the indoor temperature can reduce around 11 degrees Celsius. Belajar dari jam berapa sampai jam berapa? Pulang sekolah atau maghrib?
Kan masuk siang ya.
Oh,
jadi
masuk
pagi. Belajarnya.
Oh, belajar pagi.
Iya.
Jadi
Pas belajar tuh jadi kayak lebih adem gitu.
lebih enak ya. Involving the student will be part of my research if they got the understanding about the cause and effect of climate change, especially in building construction.
Definitely, I would like to see my nieces and my nephew to see Jakarta as I have seen it during my childhood years. We need to adapt to rising temperature, but also to reduce greenhouse gases. This is where Climate Works Foundation is playing its role through the Clean Cooling Collaborative. This initiative is committed to reduce the sector's greenhouse gas emission and making efficient, climate-friendly cooling accessible to all.
Many parts of the country are bracing for another day of scorching heat.
Power grid operators have declared an emergency due to spiking electricity demand, with hundreds of thousands of people experiencing rolling blackouts.
The planet is warming, and people, food, and medicine need to stay cool. Without cooling, lives, health, and well-being are at risk. But today, most air conditioning and refrigeration are heating the planet, part of a vicious cycle. The hotter Earth gets, the more cooling we need. This requires energy and warms the planet even more. We need clean cooling now. That's why KSEP, the Kigali Cooling Efficiency Program, started in 2017. Working with our partners, we have advanced efficient, climate-friendly cooling in more than 55 countries. We've had a major impact on reducing emissions and improving lives, and we're just getting started. Moving forward, KSEP will be the Clean Cooling Collaborative, and we're expanding our scope to focus on 3 primary solution areas: super efficient appliances, climate-friendly refrigerants, and passive cooling. We'll continue to work globally with a focus on regions that have the greatest impact on cooling emissions.
We get the freshest natural air of Jakarta really early in the morning. People often air out their home first thing before the heat of the sunrise start to creep in. As the day traffic increase and the sun starts to beam down, the air quality starts to get worsened and the heat starts to rise. People are forced to close down their windows and to start switching on their air conditioner, simply just to be able to carry on with their work. That's the reality of climate change for a lot of people living in Jakarta. As a native Jakarta, I can totally attest that there are a big construction boom, and it's not only happening downtown Jakarta, it's also happening outskirts of Jakarta. There are more commercial centers, office buildings, high-rise residential areas. Air conditioning is no longer a luxury, but this is more like a necessity. Well, it's almost like every household is installing at least one ACs. And the thing is, they don't have always the access to the most performing ACs in the market. They would normally prefer the one that has a lower investment cost in the beginning.
My name is Beta Paramita. So actually, Beta is come from Alpha Beta Gamma. So my brother is Alpha, so I supposed to be Beta, but not Beta version. I'm a lecturer in Universitas Pendidikan Indonesia. My dissertation topic was about urban heat island. It was 8 years ago, where not so many people in Indonesia have a knowledge about this kind of things. This is also my motivation to spread the knowledge, the importance of global warming mitigation, how to make people aware that our Earth become more warm year by year. Tangerang is surrounded by industrial area and also high-dense settlement. We found one family who an elderly couple live with their grandchild. So this is kind of typically low-income housing in a metropolitan cities of Indonesia.
Ibu emang genah terus, panas deh, bakal gerah aja, makanya kupat angin terlalu nyalak aja.
Emang selalu pingsan,
Iya.
mau tidur karena kan tergantung dari diabetes Pak.
Oh.
Karena di sini nih laptop kita.
Jadi di situ ada reflektansi matahari 0,84. Artinya dia bisa merefleksikan 84% sinar matahari yang masuk ke dalam surface material. It's quite hot. Indoor temperature is 40 degrees Celsius. And then after we paint all the surface, we make the measurement. The indoor temperature can reduce around 11 degrees Celsius. Belajar dari jam berapa sampai jam berapa? Pulang sekolah atau maghrib?
Kan masuk siang ya.
Oh,
jadi
masuk
pagi. Belajarnya.
Oh, belajar pagi.
Iya.
Jadi
pas belajar tuh jadi kayak lebih adem gitu.
Lebih enak ya. Involving the student will be part of my research. If they got the understanding about the cause and effect of climate change, especially in building construction.
Definitely, I would like to see my nieces and my nephew to see Jakarta as I have seen it during my childhood years. We need to adapt to rising temperature, but also to reduce greenhouse gases. This is where Climate Works Foundation is playing its role through the Clean Cooling Collaborative. This initiative is committed to reduce the sector's greenhouse gas emission and making efficient, climate-friendly cooling accessible to all.
Many parts of the country are bracing for another day of scorching heat.
Power grid operators have declared an emergency due to spiking electricity demand, with hundreds of thousands of people experiencing rolling blackouts.
The planet is warming, and people, food, and medicine need to stay cool. Without cooling, lives, health, and well-being are at risk. But today, most air conditioning and refrigeration are heating the planet, part of a vicious cycle. The hotter Earth gets, the more cooling we need. This requires energy and warms the planet even more. We need clean cooling now. That's why KCEP, the Kigali Cooling Efficiency Program, started in 2017. Working with our partners, we have advanced efficient, climate-friendly cooling in more than 55 countries. We've had a major impact on reducing emissions and improving lives, and we're just getting started. Moving forward, KCEP will be the Clean Cooling Collaborative, and we're expanding our scope to focus on 3 primary solution areas: super efficient appliances, climate-friendly refrigerants, and passive cooling. We'll continue to work globally with a focus on regions that have the greatest impact on cooling emissions.
We get the freshest natural air of Jakarta really early in the morning. People often air out their home first thing before the heat of the sunrise start to creep in. As the day traffic increase and the sun starts to beam down, the air quality starts to get worsened and the heat starts to rise. People are forced to close down their windows and to start switching on their air conditioner, simply just to be able to carry on with their work. That's the reality of climate change for a lot of people living in Jakarta. As a native Jakarta, I can totally attest that there are a big construction boom, and it's not only happening downtown Jakarta, it's also happening outskirts of Jakarta. There are more commercial centers, office buildings, high-rise residential areas. Air conditioning is no longer a luxury, but this is more like a necessity. Well, it's almost like every household is installing at least one AC. And the thing is, they don't have always the access to the most performing ACs in the market. They would normally prefer the one that has a lower investment cost in the beginning.
My name is Beta Paramita. So actually, Beta is come from Alpha Beta Gamma. So my brother is Alpha, so I supposed to be Beta, but not Beta version. I'm a lecturer in Universitas Pendidikan Indonesia. My dissertation topic was about urban heat island. It was 8 years ago, where not so many people in Indonesia have a knowledge about this kind of things. This is also my motivation to spread the knowledge, the importance of global warming mitigation, how to make people aware that our Earth become more warm year by year. Tangerang is surrounded by industrial area and also high dense settlement. We found one family who an elderly couple live with their grandchild. So this is kind of typically low-income housing in a metropolitan cities of Indonesia.
Ibu emang genah terus, panas deh, bakal gerah aja, makanya buka angin terlalu gitu.
Emang selalu pingsan,
Iya.
mau tidur karena kan tergantung dari diabetes Pak.
Oh.
Karena di sini nih laptop kita.
Di situ ada reflektasi matahari 0,84. Artinya dia bisa merefleksikan 84% sinar matahari yang masuk ke dalam surface material. And it's quite hot. Indoor temperature is 40 degrees Celsius. And then after we paint all the surface, we make the measurement, the indoor temperature can reduce around 11 degrees Celsius. Belajar dari jam berapa sampai jam berapa? Pulang sekolah atau maghrib?
Kan masuk siang ya.
Oh,
jadi
masuk
pagi. Belajarnya.
Oh, belajar pagi.
Iya.
Jadi
Pas belajar tuh jadi kayak lebih adem gitu.
lebih enak ya. Involving the student will be part of my research if they got the understanding about the cause and effect of climate change, especially in building construction.
Definitely, I would like to see my nieces and my nephew to see Jakarta as I have seen it during my childhood years. We need to adapt to rising temperature, but also to reduce greenhouse gases. This is where Climate Works Foundation is playing its role through the Clean Cooling Collaborative. This initiative is committed to reduce the sector's greenhouse gas emission and making efficient, climate-friendly cooling accessible to all.
Many parts of the country are bracing for another day of scorching heat.
Power grid operators have declared an emergency due to spiking electricity demand, with hundreds of thousands of people experiencing rolling blackouts.
The planet is warming, and people, food, and medicine need to stay cool. Without cooling, lives, health, and well-being are at risk. But today, most air conditioning and refrigeration are heating the planet, part of a vicious cycle. The hotter Earth gets, the more cooling we need. This requires energy and warms the planet even more. We need clean cooling now. That's why KSEP, the Kigali Cooling Efficiency Program, started in 2017. Working with our partners, we have advanced efficient, climate-friendly cooling in more than 55 countries. We've had a major impact on reducing emissions and improving lives, and we're just getting started. Moving forward, KSEP will be the Clean Cooling Collaborative, and we're expanding our scope to focus on 3 primary solution areas: super efficient appliances, climate-friendly refrigerants, and passive cooling. We'll continue to work globally with a focus on regions that have the greatest impact on cooling emissions.
We get the freshest natural air of Jakarta really early in the morning. People often air out their home first thing before the heat of the sunrise start to creep in. As the day traffic increase and the sun starts to beam down, the air quality starts to get worsened and the heat starts to rise. People are forced to close down their windows and to start switching on their air conditioner, simply just to be able to carry on with their work. That's the reality of climate change for a lot of people living in Jakarta. As a native Jakarta, I can totally attest that there are a big construction boom, and it's not only happening downtown Jakarta, it's also happening outskirts of Jakarta. There are more commercial centers, office buildings, high-rise residential areas. Air conditioning is no longer a luxury, but this is more like a necessity. Well, it's almost like every household is installing at least one ACs. And the thing is, they don't have always the access to the most performing ACs in the market. They would normally prefer the one that has a lower investment cost in the beginning.
My name is Beta Paramita. So actually, Beta is come from Alpha Beta Gamma. So my brother is Alpha, so I supposed to be Beta, but not Beta version. I'm a lecturer in Universitas Pendidikan Indonesia. My dissertation topic was about urban heat island. It was 8 years ago, where not so many people in Indonesia have a knowledge about this kind of things. This is also my motivation to spread the knowledge, the importance of global warming mitigation, how to make people aware that our Earth become more warm year by year. Tangerang is surrounded by industrial area and also high-dense settlement. We found one family who an elderly couple live with their grandchild. So this is kind of typically low-income housing in a metropolitan cities of Indonesia.
Ibu emang genah terus, panas deh, bakal genah aja, makanya buka tangan telat nyala aja.
Emang selalu pingsan,
Iya.
mau tidur karena kan tergantung dari diabetes Pak.
Oh.
Karena di sini nih refleks kita.
Di situ ada reflektansi matahari 0,84. Artinya dia bisa merefleksikan 84% sinar matahari yang masuk ke dalam surface material. It's quite hot. Indoor temperature is 40 degrees Celsius. And then after we paint all the surface, we make the measurement, the indoor temperature can reduce around 11 degrees Celsius. Belajar dari jam berapa sampai jam berapa? Pulang sekolah atau maghrib?
Kan masuk siang ya.
Oh, masuk
Jadi
siang.
pagi belajarnya.
Oh, belajar pagi.
Iya.
Jadi
Pas belajar tuh jadi kayak lebih adem gitu.
lebih enak ya. Involving the student will be part of my research if they got the understanding about the cause and effect of climate change, especially in building construction.
Definitely, I would like to see my nieces and my nephew to see Jakarta as I have seen it during my childhood years. We need to adapt to rising temperature, but also to reduce greenhouse gases. This is where Climate Works Foundation is playing its role through the Clean Cooling Collaborative. This initiative is committed to reduce the sector's greenhouse gas emission and making efficient, climate-friendly cooling accessible to all.
Not seeing myself. Okay, everyone, we're back. Thank you for your patience. This was quite a challenging 25 minutes, but a really productive one. So first of all, again, I want to offer my thanks to everyone who participated in this competition, the students, the advisors, the community members, and the tech team in the background that's trying to make all this work. So thank you very much. So first of all, I want to announce the People's Choice Award. And the People's Choice Award goes to the team from Loyola University of New Orleans, the Green Roofs Are Cool entry. All right. That looks like a great party there. I'm so glad you all can enjoy this with your team. And again, we sincerely appreciate everything you put into this, that you could participate in this in New Orleans today. So thank you very much. Now, I want to move on to what you all have been waiting for, the grand prize winner. There was a spirited conversation about this, so many good projects from which to choose, and a lot of support for all of the 5. But the winning team comes from Northern Arizona University, Project Smart Fan. Now,
Thank you.
this is sort of resembling March Madness with basketball right now. So I'm happy to see teams celebrating. And I want to again remind everybody that every team that we talked to today has done extraordinary work. Every team is receiving some financial support from this competition. And we will be in touch with all of you about how we can help to advance your ideas, because there were some very specific things that came up in some of the particular projects that we think could enjoy further implementation if we had a chance to do this. So in closing, I want to say thanks to everybody again. The diversity of thought amongst the teams, as well as the diversity itself in the teams, the various kinds of perspectives that were represented, was fantastic. The community partners and how you engaged with them, everyone, was clearly there. For many of you, you built your own luck clearly along the way by engaging with communities long in advance of this competition and the time and effort you put into this. And the last thing I want to say, someone mentioned trust some time ago. And I think the trust that you built with your community members and within your teams was really evident. Yep. Yes. If the NAU team, by the way, you were making a lot of noise there, which was fantastic. Would you like to say something at this point? Do you have a spokesperson who'd like to say a word or two?
I think we could all chip in, but thank you guys so much. And thanks to the Clean Cooling Collaborative. And we're so jazzed to move this thing forward and scale this a really cool technology in a big way.
And we have our partner, Habitat for Humanity of Northern Arizona, Executive Director Eric Wolverton, and Jen, who I just met. Sorry for not knowing your full name, here with us. And we spent the time you were deliberating talking about how amazing it would be if we won. And we are just so excited to implement this project here in Flagstaff. So thank you so much.
Fantastic.
You guys want to say anything?
All right.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So thanks to the NAU team. Thanks to the judges for their time and expertise. The Clean Cooling Collaborative, thanks for acknowledging them. Clearly, and our good friend Axum Tafera, without whom this would not have happened. The team behind me that you can't see that's making this all possible, I really want to thank them. Ray, Kelly, Taylor, Kate, you name it. And lastly, I want to thank Arizona State University for helping make all of this possible. And we really appreciate the support of the President's Office to do this. So thank you very much, and hopefully we'll do this all again in the future. Have a great week, everybody.
Well done, Duke. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen.
Wow, guys.